Hello, Seiiti Arata. When I talk about networking, there are two types of people. There's one group of people who like to network because, well, they get great results. These are the people that always go to events, they exchange business cards, they always have a smile on their face and an elevator pitch on the tip of their tongue, a readily rehearsed story to quickly tell what they do for a living. And then there is the second group of people who don't even know properly what networking is, or maybe they have an aversion to it, they think it's unpleasant or embarrassing or simply really annoying to have to connect with other people professionally. Okay, if you are part of this second group, if you can't stand networking or if you don't exactly know what it is about, it is with you who I want to talk to now. Today you're going to go for a change in the way you think about networking, and you're going to start to use networking to earn more money, to be a happier person, and also to practice your generosity by helping other people. You see, human society has developed through collaboration. The historic moments that humanity most progressed were those in which there was a profound change in the way of collaborating. The development of language to communicate, the union of tribes to hunt and for agriculture, even the invention of money to facilitate commerce, or the creation of religious codes and legal systems to regulate behavior, and of course, the entire scientific and industrial revolution. None of this would be possible without good collaboration. Moreover, what happened with the groups of humans that didn't incorporate the new ways of collaborating? You studied history and you know the answer. The groups that didn't know how to quickly organize themselves or to collaborate or just develop technologies to work together, they ended up having an unhappy ending. They disappeared in defeats, in combat. They were not able to survive certain catastrophes, or maybe they were just left behind in the race for development. Individuals realize their true potential through collaboration. Now think about any individual that you admire for their achievements. It could be a great, famous entrepreneur, a champion athlete, an internationally recognized artist. No matter who the person is, this person would never arrive where they arrived if they would be alone. These people know how to collaborate with a support team, lawyers and trainers and mentors, and accountants and suppliers and other colleagues in their profession. Their ability to collaborate with other people is without doubt the most important factor to realize their potential. Collaboration is as important for your career as it is for your personal projects and also for your relationships. So because of this, I'd like to show you how networking can quickly advance you in your personal projects, your professional projects. In our course, Double Your Salary, I explain to you how to use networking in an intelligent way. But for this, it's necessary to leave your prejudice to one side and then learn how to help others and also accept that you need help. The first stage for you to have all the benefits of good networking is simply learning the art of collaboration. My question is, where did our rejection of networking and collaboration come from? Well, if you think about it, the rejection of networking can come from school, from ego, and from networking events themselves. Let me explain each one of them. First, the old-fashioned model of school doesn't strengthen our ability to collaborate. Unfortunately, most of us were taught to work alone at school. You have to study alone, you have to take your exams alone. Your grades are based on the individual answers that you give. If you look at other people's answers, you're going to be severely punished. Even when you do group work, a lot of time the grades and observations are individualized. However, real life is not like that. In any company, you are going to collaborate with other people. Your abilities, your knowledge are combined with what other people know, so then you can together be creating a particular product or provide a certain service. Furthermore, the ego is one of the barriers to networking. The ego can hold you back when you think that you are better than everybody else. Don't let your pride be a barrier to your growth. Humility teaches you don't have to know everything. You're not going to be able to know everything that is there to know. You need to be in touch with other people who know more than you about a particular subject. Another source of networking rejection is, well, the networking event itself. You see, there are times you calmly work in your nice office and then you're invited to participate in some commercial event and you're not properly prepared. You end up a little bit anxious, you don't know exactly how to behave in that event, and this trauma worsens when you find yourself surrounded by annoying, clingy people who are trying to sell you something you don't want, or they're trying to invite you to some pyramid scheme or something else that you absolutely hate. Because of this, we need to make a conscious effort so we can concentrate on the positive aspects of networking, and we can learn to use collaboration, of course, in a positive way. It can seem difficult, but it is actually liberating. The freedom of not having to do everything on your own. If you are one of those people who feels overloaded, you have to know that this draining feeling comes from basically insisting on doing everything on your own. For a better life, a life that is calmer, more productive, more satisfying, we have to learn to collaborate and join forces with other people. And in the same way that you should be open to receive help, you should also, of course, be willing to gently help other people, offer to solve their problems. It can be a little bit contradictory, right? To create even more obligations on your plate. But you're only going to be able to have good people around you when you are also a good person. Furthermore, this collaboration will be good for all sides. You help others with what you're good at, and of course you're going to receive help with the other things that you're not particularly good at. You must be exceptionally good at something. The millennial secret in the advancement of civilization is to specialize in one task and surround yourself with people with different specializations. And this allows an exchange of value. This is how you're going to be able to connect with exceptionally good people. See, you don't have to be good at everything, but you have to be good at something. Good networking is an exchange of value. One of the best ways of measuring if networking is being done well is to see if there is value being exchanged. The essence of a collaboration is when those involved are receiving or offering value, managing a final result that wouldn't be possible by acting in an isolated way. And for these, we're going to use 3 keys: specialization, systematization, and generosity. Specialization allows you to have something to offer in this exchange of value. And to increase the value exchanged, it will be useful if you would be a specialist in a particular subject, and then if you offer help on this particular subject to other people who need it. For example, I can say that I am in a certain way a specialist in recording videos. If I see somebody else struggling, wasting many hours trying to record a video, trying to solve a certain problem, this means I can go there, I can help that person. Maybe I can help them to solve that problem in just a few minutes. Now, let's continue the example. Imagine I don't understand anything about taxation and I need to solve a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy about taxes. Instead of me wasting many hours trying to understand and figure out things on my own and maybe make a mistake, I could contract the help of an accountant who could solve everything in just a few minutes. I gain time, and with more time I can do more valuable things. Now, let's talk about systematization. What else can you do to facilitate the exchange of value apart from being particularly good in a certain area? You can be the person who will first stimulate the exchange. See, the same way you're feeling perhaps shy or anxious or uncomfortable in some networking event, it's quite likely that there will be other people also feeling uncomfortable. Aim to make the first move. Learn how to make your presentation in an elegant way, a simple way, a friendly way. And when you do this in an organized and systematized way, following certain procedures with a certain model, you're going to have much better results than if you're trying to improvise, trying to be more spontaneous. Obviously, you should be spontaneous, however, through a model that is proven and systematic. And when I say systematization, it means just that you have a system. For example, in your system, you can define that you're going to participate in a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 6 networking events a year. And in the end of this event, you're going to choose to stay in touch with the relevant contacts. You're going to be writing to them, making certain phone calls, every X many days. Also, you can define that at least once a year you're going to have a meeting with your old clients. And within your close group of friends, you're going to at least call them on their birthday and make an effort to arrange a dinner every 2 months at least. This is a system. Why we need to systematize? The reason is that without a system, probably neither you or the other person will take the necessary actions to start or to nurture the relationship, because we have the rush of everyday life, and that can be a problem for relationships. We can go months or years without getting in touch with important people, the loved ones, just because we don't have a system. You should define this previously, because leaving it to chance, you're probably not going to make any of these contacts. But this doesn't mean that your contacts are going to be artificial. Always be, please, authentic, using clear communication. Beyond specializing in something, so you can contribute with a greater value and also developing your systems and be really able to implement your networking, you can and you should also cultivate generosity. Creating networks of contacts will be more powerful when you have focus on contributing and not just receiving. And here I'm not talking about contributing with the secret desire to be receiving, actually, of helping only because you want to gain something in return. I'm talking about contributing from a perspective of abundance. As in, you see, I have so much in my life. My only choice is to contribute. This change in perspective is very important. If you are contributing just because you want to receive, you're coming from, let's be honest, a perspective of scarcity. Change your focus. Think of helping just for the pleasure of helping. If the other person contributes later in return, that's going to be very nice and welcome, but you're not expecting that. You're not waiting for this. You're not going to be resentful for having contributed more than the other person. You're not going to be keeping score of who has contributed more than who. With time, you're going to get used to naturally being this person, this new identity, the person who helps just to help. Just the way the rain wets on, the sun heats, and the clouds cast shadows. In this world, you are a person who contributes. It's part of your nature. It's not some type of a conditional behavior depending on certain requisites, depending on the behavior of the other person. This is basically just who you are. That's how you are. How to put good networking into practice. When you're getting in contact with someone for the first time, please get straight to the point. Your first seconds of interaction should be focused on what you can offer to the other person that is of use. Be brief. Instead of wasting too much time talking about yourself, your company, your experience, just say what it is that you can do that can help the other person, and then ask if they are interested to hear more. If they say they're not interested, don't insist. Don't be a clingy person. Don't keep annoying them. It's okay that people are not interested, but keep the relationship light. Say that in case they don't need it right now, maybe in the future if they need, they can talk to you. It's going to be a pleasure for you to help. Respect the space of others. The importance of this type of attitude has grown with the passage of time. See, in the past, the model of work was just that you would graduate, you would start to work in a company, and maybe you're going to stay in this company for many years until the time of your retirement. These days, we have a more agile exchange between different companies. It's much more common. More and more people are working around projects. And when the project ends, now you have to search for a new project. Maybe within the same company, or perhaps you have to find another company to hire you. It is fundamental, therefore, that you have a connection with the different people to be able to construct your own career, to serve, to help. You should help the flow of good information. If you notice that there are people around you that could meet each other, that would be nice, you can invite them to go to a cafe together and then introduce these people, explaining the reason why you think they could make a good partnership, a good collaboration. If a personal face-to-face meeting is complicated, you can just send an email to both of these different people. You can also schedule a video call. And you can send them any type of things to help the contacts. You can send them a book or a link to something interesting. Don't be a hoarder of information, be a distributor of information. In this way, when big opportunities come up, probably people will remember you as an excellent option to participate in projects that can lift your career to another level and, who knows, even duplicating your earnings. Networking is helping others and accepting that you need help. If you have prejudiced ideas about networking, open your mind and realize that everything you do has the involvement of other people. So, to learn to collaborate with others, you've got to be humble and recognize that you need help, that you don't know everything, and that other people can sometimes solve in a few minutes problems that would take you hours to solve. Recognize that this is a great way to eliminate that weight off your shoulders, the weight of wanting to do everything by yourself. Opening your mind to collaboration is an intelligent way to free yourself from the feeling of loneliness and overload and inability. And for all of this to work, be authentic. Offer help to others in a systematic way, in what you can specialize in, but without hoping for something in return, just for the pleasure of helping. With time, this is going to become natural to you. Now, here comes a great irony. Even without hoping for anything in return, things will naturally start to happen for you. Other people will also start to help you. Your personal and professional objectives will be achieved much more quickly with the help of these people. And soon, your personal life and your career will absolutely be on another level. For you who wants to know even more orientation on how to connect with other people and accelerate your professional growth, including your salary, I invite you to our professional development course, Double Your Salary. You can go to arata.se/DYS.